All right, class, we are working with multiplication again today. And yesterday you were learning how to multiply a one-digit number times a two-digit number. And we found that there was a certain pattern to follow, and you're just using regular multiplication facts. So today we're going to take that same pattern and add a little bit more to it. So today you're going to learn how to multiply a one-digit number times a three-digit number, and you're going to see that the pattern is still the same. You're just adding one extra step at the end. Okay, so let's take an example of two sets of 431. Okay, so if I have two sets of 431, remember I write the multiplication problem like this. Okay, so I have 2 times 431. Okay, so let's remember our pattern from yesterday. So you take your multiplier, and which of these numbers am I going to multiply first? The ones place. Just like the pattern for addition and subtraction, we always start with the ones place first. Same with multiplication. So we take our multiplier, multiply by our ones place. So I'm going to draw a little arrow here. So 2 times 1 equals 2. Good. All right, so the next step is to take our multiplier, same multiplier because it's two sets of, right? Now I'm going to multiply my tens place. Remember, that's the pattern we learned yesterday. So I'm going to draw an arrow from my multiplier 2 times the 3 in the tens place, okay? So this is 2 times 3 tens, and 2 times 3 tens equals 6 tens. And I put my answer right there in the tens spot. So when I multiply by my ones, my answer goes in the ones column. When I multiply by my tens, my answer goes in the tens column. Okay, I'm pretty certain you can guess what the next step is. I'm going to take my multiplier, 2, I'm going to multiply by, I'm going to multiply by my hundreds place now. That's the third step, okay? So I take my multiplier and multiply my hundreds. All right, so 2 times 4 hundreds equals 8 hundreds, right? And so the 8 goes in my hundreds place, and that equals 862. Okay, so remember from yesterday, we can always check with repeated addition. And if I have two sets of 431, that means I'm adding 431 two times, right? So let's check. So 1 plus 1 equals 2. 3 plus 3 equals 6. 4 plus 4 equals 8. And you can see our answer is the same. Now, if I was going to do that with the blocks, okay, so let's say I have one group. Now remember, this is 100 because 10 tens is 100, and this represents the 10 tens, right? So we have 4 hundreds, and we have 3 tens for the 30, and we have 1 cube for the 431. And how many sets of those do I have? I have 2. So here's my second set of 431. And when I put those all together, I have 2 ones, right? Here are my 2 ones. And I have 6 tens. Here are my 6 tens. And here are my 2 sets of 400s that I'm putting together. And I have 800s. Okay? All right, so that is the pattern. It's not hard, right? It's just one extra step from what we learned yesterday. The pattern is still the same. We always start with multiplying our ones, then we multiply our tens, then we multiply our hundreds. Okay? So let's try some more samples together. We're going to work on some problems on your work text, and they start us off pretty slow. They're going to give us a lot of multiplying by 2 digits, and then we're also going to multiply by our hundreds. There's one in here in particular. Sorry about this. I started the video and had to go back and redo, so I had to erase my pen marks. Okay, so let's start here with number 1. So we have 12 times 3. And some of you may have already memorized your 12s. That's fine. This is great because then you can make sure that you're doing the correct pattern. Okay, so even if you haven't memorized your 12s, I didn't tell you you had to, but this is why, is because we can multiply this way. Okay, so let's start with the multiplication first. All right, so we've got our multiplier, and we're going to multiply by our ones place first. Okay, so 3 times 2 ones equals 6 ones. Okay, then we take our multiplier, 3, and we multiply by our tens. 3 times 1 10 equals 3 tens. And we're going to put our answer in the tens spot. Okay, so 36 is our answer. Let's check with our addition. So let's add our ones first, 2, 4, and 6. And then add your tens. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3 tens. And there you can see your answer is the same. Okay, let's check this one. And remember, in the box are the steps for you. Okay, so we have our multipliers 3. We're going to multiply by our ones first. Okay, so 3 times 2 ones equals 6 ones. And I'm going to put my 6 right there in the ones place. Okay, now I take my multiplier. I'm going to do 3 times 110 because I'm multiplying my tens next. 3 times 1 equals 3. And since those are tens, my answer goes in the tens place. Okay, now the last step is to multiply my hundreds over here. So I take my multiplier, 3 times 100. 3 times 1 equals 3. And since those are hundreds, I put that 3 in the hundreds place. Okay, let's check with our addition. So start with our ones first. 2, 4, 6. Then add our 3 ones, our 3 tens, a 1 in each place. So that would be 3 tens. Now we're going to add our hundreds, 100 plus 200 plus 300. And we put that in our hundreds place, and then you can see the answer's the same. Okay, so let's check 11 times 2. This one you may know in your head, but let's do the pattern, and then you can have the answer that's in your head check you. Okay, so here's your multiplier, and you multiply by your ones place first. So 2 times 1 equals 2, goes in the ones place. Now take your multiplier, multiply by your tens. 2 times 1 equals 2. And you know, if you added 11 plus 11, you'd also get 22. Okay, let's check number 4. So we have our multiplier, which is 1, and we're multiplying by 12. Now this one's pretty easy. You should know this in your head without thinking much at all. 12 times 1. Anything times 1 is going to be itself, right? But let's just practice with the pattern. Okay, so 1 times 2 is 2. Now I multiply my tens. 1 times 1 is 1. And what do you know? Our answer is 12. We knew that though, didn't we? Okay, so here we go. We're going to multiply our multiplier by ones, multiplier by tens. Okay, so 3 times 0 equals 0, and that goes in our ones place. Okay, then we do 3 times 3 tens. So 3 times 3 is 9, and it's 9 tens. So we put the 9 in the tens place. Okay, now let's look at number 6. Now this one's a little tricky. I think that the editor made a mistake because we're going to work on renaming tomorrow, but this will give you a sneak peek at what we're going to do. So stay with me on this one, okay? All right, so I'm going to do this one with the blocks first. So we have 32 times 4. And hold on a second because I'm going to need more tens for this one. Okay. All right, so I have 3 tens, and 3 tens, and 3 tens. And I need a couple more tens here to make our 4 groups. Okay, so we have 32 times 4. So here's my 32, 32, 32, 32, right? I have 4 groups of 32. Okay, so when I put those all together, remember we were going to do our ones first. So I'll put all my ones together, and I have 2, 4, 6, 8. All right, that makes sense. Okay, then I'm going to put all my tens together, and let's see how many we have, right? We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, I can rename these 10, right? I can trade those in for 100, right? So I can say, okay, instead of these 10 tens, I'm going to move this into the hundreds place and have 100. Okay, so I'll have 128. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like when we write it out. Okay, so keep that in mind that I changed those 10 tens. The 10 tens that I had, I changed it into 100, so I would mark that as a 1 in the hundreds place. All right, let me show you what that looks like on our paper. Okay. All right, so we have our multiplier. It's 4 groups, right? I'm going to multiply by my ones. Okay, so 4 times 2 equals 8 ones, right? Okay, then I'm going to take my multiplier and multiply by my tens place. So I have 4 times 3, and that equals 12. Okay, so think about what we do there. So it equals 12. So remember, when I had the 12 tens, right, I changed 10 of them in for 100, and then I had the 2 tens left over. So I'm going to put my 2 tens here in the tens spot, and then that 100 I'm going to put up here, and I'm going to put it with a little plus sign, okay? So I'm going to say, and I'm also having one extra 100. Now I'm not going to multiply 4 times 100, and the reason why is because the 100 is there because I cashed it in. Remember, I had 12 tens, and I'm just moving it over to the 100 spot. So I've already multiplied. I don't need to multiply it again. I'm just going to add it on, add 100. So all I have to do now is bring the hundreds place down here. Okay, so we could see when we did the blocks that our answer was 128. And we're going to get more into renaming tomorrow. So this is just a sneak peek. You really shouldn't have any others that you'll have to work on that today. I think the editor accidentally put that in there. So if this is a little bit confusing to you, think about it. Maybe rewind and see what we did again. But like I said, tomorrow we'll go over this a little bit more slowly. Okay, so let's go on to number 7. Okay, our multiplier is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. And then 2 times our tens, 2 times 2 equals 4. Okay, now we're going to get into that third step. So remember, we're going to multiply the ones, then multiply the tens, and then multiply the hundreds. Okay, so we have 221 times 4, or 4 groups of 221. So remember the pattern, our ones first. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8, and that goes in our tens place. And then our hundreds. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, let's check this one. Our multiplier is 2. We're going to multiply by our ones. 2 times 2 equals 4. 2 times 3 equals 6. And because those are tens, we put our answer in the tens place. And then we have our multiplier times our hundreds. 2 times 1 equals 2, and we'll put that in our hundreds place. Are you getting the pattern? A little bit easy? Okay, so it's just like doing a lot of basic math facts in a pattern over and over again. Ones, tens, hundreds. Ones, tens, hundreds, right? Okay, so our multiplier is here. 3 sets of 2 ones. 3 times 2 equals 6. Take your multiplier times your tens place. 3 times 1 equals 3, and that goes in your tens place. Now our multiplier times our hundreds. 3 times 3 equals, and put it in your hundreds place. Hope you said 9. Okay, a couple more. All right, multiplier times your ones place. 2 times 1 equals 2. 2 times 3 equals, think about it. And where does it go? Good. You should have 6 in the tens place. Now your multiplier times your hundreds place. 2 times 4 equals 8. And you put that in the hundreds place. Okay, last one. Multiplier times our ones. 2 times 2 equals 4. Multiplier times your tens place. 2 times 1 equals 2. 2 times your hundreds place. 2 times 2 equals 4. All right, so hopefully you'll get that pattern memorized so that becomes very easy for you. You'll have some independent practice on the back. Okay, we haven't done pictographs for a while, so remember when we look at one of these, we've got to look at the title, we've got to look at all of the things represented, and we always have to look at this key down here. This is very important, right? Because if we don't read this part, we're going to count these wrong. Don't forget. So one of these stick figures is the same as or it equals 2 students. So every time we're counting one of these, we have to count by 2. Don't forget, that's very important. Okay, so it says which class has exactly 6 students. So we're looking here, which one of these has 6 students? If each one of these represents 2, which one of these class has exactly 6 students? Right, it's the first grade, right? So how would we represent that as multiplication? Okay, so we would say there are 3 of these stick figures, right? And each of these stick figures means 2. So we're saying we've got 3 sets of 2. 3 times 2, and it equals 6, right? So now what do we put for the answer? The question was, which class has exactly 6 students? It's first, okay? Because we looked here for the name of the class. Okay, let's look at this one. How many students are in 3rd grade? Okay, so I'm looking at 3rd grade. Whew, it's kind of like our 3rd grade. Lots of kids, right? Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3. Oops, let me count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 stick figures. Okay, so 9 groups. And how many does each stick figure represent? 2. So we have 9 groups of 2. So that means 9 times 2. And the answer to that is 18. Okay, so now it says how many students are in 3rd grade? We have to say 18. And our label is students, 18 students. Okay, last question here. How many more students are there in 3rd grade than in 2nd grade? Here is our key right here. How many more? How many more? What do those words represent? What kind of operations should we use? If I'm trying to find out how many more, what operation would I use? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division? How many more? Okay, these words help us to think about subtraction. Okay, so we want to know how many more are in 3rd grade than 2nd grade. So we're comparing these two, right? So we already know that 3rd grade has the most. So that's going to be the biggest number. That's going to be the beginning of our subtraction problem, right? Now, we don't know how many are in 2nd grade. We haven't even really looked at 2nd grade yet. So remember, each stick figure represents 2, okay? And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stick figures. So 6 groups of 2 equals 12. And we'll put that down. And then 18 minus 12 equals, give you a second, 6. Okay, and then we would say 6 more students. Okay, I don't know what my computer just did. Okay, so looks like we're still on. My screen went completely blank, so I don't know what you're seeing on your hand. Okay, so I want you to do the rest on your own. Remember, take a careful look at this pictograph. Make sure you're looking at all the information very carefully. You have some 2-digit numbers. You have some 3-digit numbers. You've got some questions about the pictogram, and then you've got a word problem here. This one, guys, we haven't talked about, but math helps us, it helps people to help other people. Okay, so when we're working at a store and we're giving change to people, that's helping people. When we're trying to figure out something mathematically, we can help people with that. So math helps people to help people. Okay, that's what we want for that last one. Okay, this page is on your own.